So Sandy, what's your story?
Oh yeah, I was gonna tell you.
Regale me.
It's similar to your Heart of Darkness story, which is that I was gifted this book by a boy.
Of course, a boy would always give this book.
Exactly, and it was like,
who was the boy?
It was my first boyfriend, but basically, it was that sort of classic first relationship where he just gave me a list of movies to watch.
He was literally me in high school.
A little bit, yeah. Anyway, so he like gave me this book, and he was like, "I loved this book." Like he must have really connected to it, so I'm really interested to see what it's actually
And you
about.
never read it?
No, God no.
That's hilarious. And
he like even wrote like a little note inside the cover and everything for me.
Oh my god, like John Lennon's killer, who had a copy of The Catcher in the Rye in his pocket that said, "To Holden Caulfield, this is for you, from Holden Caulfield."
What the fuck, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. I did not know that. And I know nothing about the story except that it apparently has like a red hat in it, and that's significant.
Yes, it has a red hat.
Yeah, and that's all. That's all I know.
Oh my god. I'm about to import some...
Are you excited? Now you know how I feel all the time.
I think I'm less afraid than you are.
No, I didn't mean like in general.
Markedly so. So, for those of you who are joining us, T-Day, T-D-Y, I will be doing a book. Me, Samantha, I.
Oh yeah, we haven't explained that this is the concept of every 10th episode.
Our season finale.
Our season finale will be a switcheroo.
So I will be doing Catcher in the Rye. Fun fact, I begged my parents to buy me this book in the 6th grade, and they did. I still have the same copy.
It's a really cute copy.
Yeah, I have the Franny and Zooey one in the exact same publishing print, whatever, and I'm just like, yeah, I love literature. Yeah, I'm contemporary. So I begged for them to buy me this book because Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance said it was his favorite book growing up, and I was like, oh my god, I have to be closer to him.
A lot of things are clicking into place for me right now.
So yeah, I read this in the 6th grade. So that's
okay. That seems quite young for this.
So, I was going to prepare a book report, like Sandy does each week. Mm-hmm. Then I started doing it, and then I just didn't.
Oh.
I was like...
What's gonna happen?
No, I wrote notes about the book as I was reading it, but I was gonna write like a proper like book report. And then as I started doing it yesterday, the school me kicked in, you know? I'm like, I'm gonna do everything except this. So I did do a lot of things. I got so much done, except for this. So, let us begin.
Okay.
So, The Catcher in the Rye. So, it's by old mate J.D. Salinger. And
when was it published?
I'm getting there. Is this gonna be you the whole time?
Yes.
Because this is gonna be like a 4-hour...
interruption.
4-hour episode. It's a short book, but I have a lot to say. So.
That's good.
So it was partially published in serial form from 45 to 46, but then as a novel in 51.
Man, I didn't know they still did that kind of stuff. I thought that was like an older thing, but I guess not. I guess they had like magazines and literary magazines and stuff like that.
And the funny thing is, it was originally intended for adults, but like as a quote-unquote adult reading this, I'm just like, fuck off, this is for like a 15-year-old. Okay. Because it's just so angsty. It's all about like alienation, and the whole time I was reading it, I was like, why do I hate Holden?
Because he's a teenager.
And then I literally while I was at work, I was just reading the spark notes of it, and I was like, oh, I'm meant to feel bad for him. And I guess I kind of do in a way, because he is very, very much an alienated, lost young man who doesn't want to grow up. It's very, like, the significance of the title will come into play. Okay. I'll do a Sandy and say, it starts off, it actually has a pretty iconic opening thing. What's this? Opening
line?
Sure.
Phrase?
Yeah, got him. It says, if you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me and all that David Copperfield kind of crap. But I don't feel like going into it if you want to know the truth. So so you get the vibe where
I hate him.
I see you wistfully looking out the window like...
I'm being a teen.
So that's who he is. And so the book opens with him recounting a couple of days in New York, and he's in California in like I don't know if they mention it, an unspecified institution in California after the end of World War II.
Like institution as in school?
No.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Is he a naughty boy? Is he in jail? Is he in naughty boy jail?
Do you want to find out and shut up?
Sure.
Or in the order, shut up and find out.
Okay.
That one. Okay. So this is what I wrote from when I started reading this book, which is like fucking December, because when we said we were going to record it.
Yeah.
And then it took me that amount of time to just read such a short book that I've read before, because...
It's May now. It's the end of May now. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this says, they came back from NYC for a fencing championship, but he left all the equipment somewhere. But hey, at least he got a cool red hat.
What? Fencing?
Yeah, so he was recalling...
Oh my gosh.
He was at the school called Pensy Prep, which incidentally was also the name of the band of Frank Iero, which is the guitarist of My Chemical Romance. So
Sure.
a lot of things happening for me in this book. So he's telling us about a couple of crazy days that happened after he got kicked out of Pensy Prep and he went to New York for a little rendezvous. So Pensy Prep is like in Pennsylvania, so New York was like
So he
a train
used to
ride.
live in Pennsylvania. Yes? He used to live in Pennsylvania, got kicked out of school, went up to New York for a couple of days, and then moved out to California? Is that what's going on?
Sure. The boarding school is in Pennsylvania, but he's based in New York. Like, his parents live in New York in a swanky apartment. They've got a maid.
Right.
He's a very privileged young man.
So when he's going back to New York, he's staying with them?
No. Because they don't know that he's been kicked out yet.
Okay.
So he's been kicked out of many schools. And it's always because he, like, just stops going to classes. He just stops trying. And he's always like, the phonies, whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, sure, but no. So he recalls the events of the previous Christmas. So that is, let's see, I've got like 3 resources, like the wiki page, my notes, and the actual book. Would have been so much easier if I condensed it into one. Anyway, so he starts the story with the him and the fencing team. He's the captain of the fencing team. They came back from New York, but they had to forfeit because he left all the foils and stuff at the station because he's golden. But it's okay.
Like, as an accident, though? Or?
Like, absent-mindedness.
Sure.
So you have to let me get through more than this.
Now you know how it feels.
Hey. He got the hat, a red hunting cap. He insists on wearing backwards. Because, you know, he's cool. He's edgy. Whatever.
How does that look?
Pretty dumb. Yeah.
I can't even... It has ear flaps, right?
Yeah, it has ear flaps. And he has the flaps up.
Right.
Because he's
Okay.
cool.
Because he's not a phony.
He's not a phony. He's not a phony.
That was a big thing in the 50s, I think. Like, the Beat Generation and everything, all the sort of wealth in the 50s.
Yes, it's really funny because he's so rich, this boy. He's so rich. This adventure would not have happened if he wasn't rich because he takes so many cabs, checks into like a hotel.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's getting expelled due to poor attendance, but he's like a smart boy. Like, I have that in like the wavy. Anyway, so he visits an old professor of his that he actually likes, and it depresses him because he's old and his robe is half open. The professor's robe.
Old people's bodies always weird me out as well. I always get depressed.
So he goes back to his dorm, and this annoying kid that lives kind of like next door, named Ackley, barges in his room to cut his nails. Because that's, you know, that's what Ackley does, apparently. And then Ackley starts reading Holden's hot roommate, Stradlater. Later. Stradlater. That's his last name.
Man, these rich people names.
Yeah.
Holden, Ackley, Stradlater.
So you know, Ackley and Stradlater are last names, though.
Oh, that's still a rich person
It
thing,
is,
though. Calling people
definitely.
by their last names, that's a public,
And it's
private school thing.
it's a fancy school.
Yeah, yeah.
So his hot roommate, Stradlater, comes in to get ready for a date.
Who plays him? Who plays them all, actually?
Oh, it's so hard because Holden would be... I do remember John Cusack saying in an interview he got really sad when he turned 21 because he said he'd be too old to play Holden Caulfield. So that's pretty... We can give it to him. We can give it to young John Cusack.
Yeah.
He can have that. And Stradlater, just like someone hot... Oh, you know who it'd be? It'd be... What's his name that plays the mean guy in, and then there were none. Adrian Turner? What? No.
Oh, Aiden Turner.
Aiden Turner.
Yeah. Cool. So he's like hot and also a bit naughty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Love it.
And Ackley is just some kid with pimples.
Sure.
You know? Like the before photo in all of the ads.
Just go to Proactive and be like, give us your best.
Proactive, thank you. I was like,
No.
what's it called? Okay. So comes in to get ready for a date. Holden is bored, so he hangs out while hot guy is shaving. Then he realizes the date is with a girl he knows, Jane Gallagher. Holden's entire narrative is like, no one asked you, but okay. Like, for example, a bus driver told him to get rid of a snowball he randomly had, and apparently the bus driver wouldn't believe him, and, quote, people never believe you. And I'm just like, just get rid of the snowball. But then
Believe him about why he had the snowball.
yeah, just
Okay.
in general, like people
Yeah.
never believe you, and I'm like, oh sure. But and then I was reading Spark Notes at work because there's only so many sites you can go to on like your work computer. It said the snowball was actually fucking symbolic of something, of his inability to let things go, and I'm like, I think he was just starting shit. Anyway,
Right.
everything is almost whiny. Like a quote, I don't even enjoy sitting next to them in the movies. And then I wrote down, okay, Holden.
With them being girls or being
No,
friends?
the two guys.
Sure.
So Stradlater went out on his date.
Yeah.
And Holden and Ackley and some other rando, I forgot his name. Doesn't matter. They went to the movies, but the two have already seen it, so they just played some pool and then headed back to the school.
Sure.
I don't know, rich boy stuff. And then the first mention of his brother Ali was when he was writing an assignment for Hot Roommate. And it was meant to be a descriptive piece about a room or whatever. But he started writing about his brother's baseball mitt. And it's like, okay, I'll do it. But on my terms. All caps. There's poems in green ink all over the mitt. And Holden assures us we would have liked him. But he died from leukemia and he was 2 years younger. And Holden considered him a lot smarter than he. Holden was 13 when Ali died, and his parents were going to get him psychoanalyzed because he broke all the windows in the garage and slept there the night he died. So obviously Ali is important TM.
Oh, so he's probably got like childhood depression.
Oh,
like
he is
big
massively depressed. Like there are arguments that Holden is a good representation of a certain kind of like depression. Like it's like he's a rich boy, but he's like not
but he's
happy.
obviously had some kind of traumatic event that he hasn't been able to work through.
And he always compares himself to his siblings in a very kind of what's that word?
Deprecated?
Yeah.
Hey.
Way. Like he's got so there's Ali, dead Ali. There's DB, D.B. Who lives in Hollywood, who's the oldest one. And he's a good writer, and he became like a writer in Hollywood.
Nice.
Which Holden hates because now he's a phony, of course. And the youngest one, Phoebe, who still lives at home.
DB and Phoebe.
DB and Phoebe and
That's cute.
Holdy.
And Holden.
Holdy and Ali.
That's why he's sad.
Like, why do all our names have to rhyme, Mom, Dad? So that if they get them mixed up, it's just like, yeah, that's what I said. Like the mom holding like
the mom can just like gaslight
a
them.
champagne flute. Like, that's what I said. It's Lucille Bluth.
Yeah, she's got the champagne flute in one hand and like a vacuum in the other.
Oh, they have a maid
Oh. I don't know why she's holding it, but she is.
to hit the maid with because the maid didn't do a good enough job.
Yes, exactly.
It's Lucille. I don't care much for Job.
I don't care much for Holden.
Yeah.
Did I fail him as a mother? He doesn't know how to wear hats.
Yeah, that is what happened. And then Phoebe, who's 13, still lives at home, of course. So she's like his favorite right now. He's pretty close with her, and he can like talk to her and stuff.
Imagine if she was the Hollywood screenwriter, though. It'd be like maybe in Arrested Development.
Oh my god, she could be maybe.
Yeah, is she really smart?
She's very smart. Yeah.
Nice.
She could be maybe, but in like, she's not chaotic like.
She's a good girl?
Yeah, she's not chaotic neutral or something. She's a good girl. So Hot Guy comes back home with his date with Jane, and Holden is worried because Hot Guy is hot. In parentheses, unscrupulous is the word he used. And now they're arguing about how Holden wrote the composition on his dead brother's baseball mitt instead of a room or something like that they discussed. And
So is this guy bullying him into doing his homework?
no. It's
What's
kind
he
of just
doing
like just do it for me, won't you? And Holden's like, and he's like, come on, man, just do it. And he's like, all right.
It's kind of, well, but why would he do it?
Because English is the only subject he's like passing. He doesn't mind English.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's good at it.
Yeah. Still seems weird to me that he'd do someone else's homework.
You would do my homework if I made you.
Okay, so they have this kind of dynamic.
No, because just wait.
Okay, sure.
You're gonna regret saying that because of what happens next.
Oh no. So yeah,
Holden gets killed. The rest of the book is his ghost.
But
it's
you
a
say
Christmas
he's
story.
unscrupulous, so is Holden worried that this girl's gonna lose her virginity or something?
Can you just let me?
I'm sorry,
like,
you're just leaving so many threads.
Because I'm.
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
I will tie them up.
All right.
I'm just setting them loose. And Hot Guy says this is why he's flunking out. And then I wrote down too fast, too quirky. And Holden, of course, gets up and tears up the composition like the little emo brat he is.
Yeah.
Then he smokes in bed, even though you're not meant to, because, of course he does. So Hot Guy is, of course, a jock. And Jane only signed out till 9:30. So they just sat in a car. And Holden thinks they fucked. So he goes to punch him, but Hot Guy is hot and strong and pins him down. And Holden goes and calls him a moron in every imaginable way possible. And when Hot Guy lets him up, he gives him one last hot moron insult and gets rightfully socked in the face. And he's just lying there bleeding. And Hot Guy is like nervous, telling him to get up and wash the blood off his face, etc. And tells him to go wash his own moron face. Italian chef kiss of a response. Lol. So he goes to Ackley's room to show off his gory face and to sleep in the empty bed in Ackley's room. And suddenly he gets so lonely that he, quote, almost wished he was dead. He says that a lot. Like, he's like, I wish I was dead. And I was just like, I don't like how much I relate. Okay, so he's stressed about Jane and Hot Guy because Hot Guy for reals gets around and not just talks big game. One time, him and Hot Guy, that's how I wrote this. One time,
what's his name? Stradlater. Well, that's fair. Like, that's a hard name to...
And just Hot Guy, we know who it is.
Yeah.
There's one Hot Guy. There's kind of like a hot... No, I'll get to that later.
Okay.
One time, they had a double date, and Hot Guy and his date were in the back, and he'd put on this sincere voice, and apparently the girl was saying, please, no, don't. So apparently no sex happened then, but that's his move. Wear you down till you just give in. Gross.
That is gross. But also Holden's attitude is kind of gross as well. If he's like, I don't know, like what's his deal? What's the deal with Jane? Like, is he... So
he explains it later, but Jane is someone that he hangs out with during summer, because of course him and his parents go to like a little... like in High School Musical too, a little summer, what's it called? Summer
camp?
Summer
house? Holiday house?
Yeah, like a resort, with other Richies.
Oh, Dirty Dancing.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Dirty Dancing. It's like, and Patrick Swayze is only...
that'd be amazing.
So him and Jane actually had a bit of a flirty going on, and there was a point where like he almost kissed her and almost got there, but he has this thing with his sexuality where he's pretty crass, Holden. That's why it's a bit of a controversial book, but he's never had sex. Like, he has no experience in, like, sex whatsoever. So he's always just, like, morbidly fascinated by it. But
and, like, insecure?
Yeah, he's very... Yeah. Like, this boy needs a lot of therapy. Like, he's very... I think even before his brother died, how... Like, he's just...
repressed.
He's just sad. Like, he's a very sad boy. Okay.
That's why all the emo bands were like, it's us.
Yeah. So this all happened on a Saturday, and he has to leave the school by Wednesday. But by now, he's just so depressed and lonely that he decides to go to New York City for a few days and stay in a dingy hotel for like a mini break until his parents find out he's been kicked out again. Right. Little self-care getaway, face mask and room service, etc. So we're going on to our second act now, I would say.
Okay, so he was expelled not for the fencing thing?
No, just for
for not coming to school.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fencing thing was just like oh well.
So yeah, so he does have a crush on Jane, and
Definitely.
he is jealous of Hot Guy.
So he the thing with Jane is he brings her up at several points during the book, and he always says I might give Jane a buzz later, and he always does go to call her. and then he just like hangs up, like he never follows through with it. So that's like SparkNotes said that's a thing.
Yeah.
They're like,
well, they're always right.
Yeah.
Sponsor us.
I love you, SparkNotes. His inability to follow through, I'm like, yeah, that's what I meant. Thank you, SparkNotes.
And he doesn't recognize that about himself?
He doesn't recognize anything about himself. He's kind of like in that phase of his life where everyone else is wrong except for him.
Yeah.
Like everyone's doing the wrong thing except for him. And like the only people he has kind of like empathy for are like kids, like because they've got like this innocence about them.
And he kind of maybe he like misses that.
He does.
Yeah.
He always
misses being that.
That's one of the main themes. He's like really doesn't want to grow up. Like it depresses him so much, the fact like he's not like a kid anymore. So he gets on a train and his classmate's mom, just a random classmate, not important, happens to sit next to him, and he just starts lying his little butt off. For what reason? I don't know. He's just a rascal, I guess.
Well, they could spring him though, right? The mom, she could spring him.
Spring him for what?
Well, for cutting, for running away.
No, he was like lying. Because he makes fun of actors, like he thinks they're phonies, but he does actually. Like kind of he puts on a show for people. He says at some point, like he loves, like when Strad later was shaving, he was just like tap dancing in the background. So he does do this thing where he kind of like
needs
performs
attention.
a little. Yeah. So with this mom, he was just like saying lies, but they were like nice things, like, oh yeah, he's like the school captain, just like random shit like that. So that when the mom goes back to the son, like, oh, I heard such nice things about you, the son's gonna be like, what the fuck? Sure, mom. So he gets into a phone booth straight away, and it's revealed he has an older brother in Hollywood, Phoebe, and a younger sister, Phoebe. He checks into a seedy as fuck hotel, and he's just so lonely and so horny. He talks about how he's the only dumb one in his family, so he has that complex.
That's also why he thinks they're all phonies as well.
Well, he doesn't think his families are phony, except for
his
DB.
big brother. Yeah.
But he respected him when he got published for writing like a book of short stories. But then once he started working in Hollywood, he's like, you're a sellout.
Yeah, so he's a bit like classist. Well, no, maybe not classist, but definitely like pretentious.
Yeah, very much so. So he goes to a bar called Ernie's. And he can get into bars and stuff pretty good because he's very tall. He's like 6'3", 6'4", and he's got like this crew cut, and he looks pretty like old for his age. He tried striking up a convo with his cab driver. He did this too with the other cab driver. All he wants to know is where the ducks in Central Park go during winter. Oh. He just wants to know.
The sewers. There's a duck city down there.
It's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Ducks.
Yeah, all the ducks in Central Park.
Just for winter, though.
Yeah.
Then they shed their scaly personas, and then they're like, quack. And SparkNotes says
they just collect bread for the duck god.
Duck god.
Tribute.
That they can't eat the bread; it'll kill them. So that's why
they store it in their bellies, and then they
for the duck
penguin,
god.
But yeah, on the altar of the
of the duck god. So that
you should have asked me.
That recurs during the book. Like he gets into a lot of cabs and he asks the drivers that a lot. And SparkNotes says it's like relevant. It's like he has like this childlike curiosity, and he just like where the ducks going? I don't know, whatever. Just someone tell him.
So it's like part of that childhood thing that he can't leave behind. It's like, yeah.
So he says this one was touchy as all heck. And then I said, someone please just tell this boy what happens to the ducks in Central Park when winter hits. So someone just tell him. And then while he's at the bar, he runs into an annoying ex of his brother's at the club. And he said he was leaving to meet someone to avoid catching up with her phony ass. So now he actually had to leave. He was like, oh, fuck, all right. Because Ernie's is like a piano player or something, and he's a phony. Everyone's a phony. Whatever. Everyone's a phony. That's how I would describe this book. So he walks back to the hotel, 41 blocks, yikes. And on the way, he calls himself Yellow. Note to self, look this up. I didn't.
It means a cowardly.
Oh.
Yellow-bellied, yeah.
Ah. So suddenly he gets offered a prostitute by the bellhop / elevator boy / pimp, I guess. And
it's a side hustle. You gotta have multiple jobs if you're gonna live in New York.
So his business card is full. And he's got
3 business cards and he accidentally hands you the wrong one. He's like, oh, Can I get that back?
No, it's just one that has like forward slashes. And he just says yes because he's so lonely and depressed, so why not? So the bellhop/pimp says it's $5 for a throw.
Oh, wow.
$15 to have her till noon.
It's good value.
And then I said, look up how much that would cost today. It was end of World War II.
Oh, so yeah, like...
So 45.
Yeah.
Let's say 50. Let's
50?
Let's say 50.
It sounds very 50s in terms of like the culture. He sounds like a beatnik. He sounds like...
They say that, well, he's not a beatnik, but, they say that a lot of the slang used is very reflective of the younger society.
Yeah.
Then, like, very accurate.
Yeah.
Yes. How much is it, Alana?
It's only $160.
For $5?
For 15 today.
Oh, well, that's to have her overnight. How much is $5?
That's true. $5.
But like, it's more expensive today still, apparently. I wouldn't know. I watched Secret Diary of a Call Girls.
Okay. Backtracking real quick on that.
Just over $50.
Okay. Reasonable. So as he's getting ready for the prostitute, we find out he's a virgin.
How does he get ready?
Just like wipes his dick or something. Spritz of cologne on the dick. I think probably brushes his teeth or whatever.
Like the Home Alone kid.
You mean Macaulay Culkin?
Yeah.
The Home Alone kid. Sorry. Wow.
Yeah, with the
Yes, the aftershave.
Yes.
So as he's getting ready, we find out he's a virgin because whenever he gets close to doing it, the girl would say stop, and instead of going ahead like most boys, he actually stops. Because they're saying that girls in this period would be like, please stop, but they actually mean keep going. You know, like they don't actually...
Well, that's wrong.
Yeah, because like, you know how girls were meant to think like, oh, sex is bad.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, stop. But
so they're supposed to not want it, but still do it.
Yeah, so that's why guys would just press on because they're like, oh, they actually do want it. They just... And I'm just like, no. So where am I?
So he's doing the right thing and then resenting that he has to do the right. Or that he feels like he has to do the right thing. He sounds like a real peach.
Yeah.
Real fun at parties.
Yeah, he's so fun. So fun.
He's the kind of guy who'd be like, I was so nice to you.
The prostitute is a young girl named Sunny, and nothing happens. And then it says here on the next bullet point, okay, I've taken Valium by that point and passed out. And then... The next point says, anyway, she's trying to say that he owes her $10 and not $5. Like Sunny and Maurice, the bellhop, elevator boy, pimp, entrepreneur, possibly DJ, rapper by night, I don't know, comes back to his room and they're like, brum, brum, brum. And he's like, hello. And then, so he does give her the $5, but then Sunny's now saying, it's $10. And he refuses.
It's a racket.
Yeah. He refuses, and eventually her and elevator man, Maurice, come back looking for the other $5. And he's crying and angry. And he's like really embarrassed. He's like all snotty and crying. He's like, stop it. And Sunny takes the $5 from his wallet. She just takes the $5. She's an honest prostitute in terms of racketeering.
Yeah.
And Maurice has him against the door, and with goading, because he's like, oh, you're not going to do it, Maurice punches him in the stomach. And then he has this fantasy where Maurice has actually shot him in the stomach, and he's like holding on to his guts, and he's like going to the concierge, and he like shoots Maurice, and Jane comes and bandages him up. He has these like suicidal ideations quite a few times.
He sounds a little bit like a school shooter.
Yeah, a little.
Like he has the potential to become.
There are actually, let's see. In popular culture, there are shootings associated with Catcher in the Rye.
I'm not surprised.
Yep. The best known event associated with the Catcher in the Rye is arguably Mark David Chapman's shooting of John Lennon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he identified with the novel's narrator, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then there was also, someone speculated that Chapman had wanted Lennon's innocence to be preserved by death. Inspired by Holden's wish to preserve children's innocence.
Yeah, he sounds... Maybe I shouldn't be, but I am surprised. It is, like, weird to me that people idolize him and identify with him. And maybe it shouldn't be surprising.
It's a very...
But he sounds awful. Like...
He's kind of like a brat, and then he just really needs, like, direction. Like,
yeah. So he, like, means well. And he's kind of lashing out.
He does mean, I guess he's just like, I don't know, he just needs therapy. That's what it is what it is.
He's just a bit bitter.
Yeah, for like a little 17-year-old. He says that what he really felt like doing is committing suicide. Just jumping out the window, but only if there was someone to cover him up straight away. Because he didn't want people looking at his body. And I'm like, that's relatable. So next morning, he's really hungry and he wants room service. But he's afraid old mate Maurice is going to be like /chef/waiter as well. He's like the only staff in the whole hotel. Gonna be the one delivering it. So instead he thinks about calling this girl he used to kind of go out with, Sally Hayes. And then the next thing is, of course, he says some dumb shit about her. Go to page 105. So I'm excited to see.
Ooh.
I feel like I'm leaving clues for myself. I'm like, oh, what is it? What I did do, I gave old Sally Hayes a buzz. She went to Mary A. Woodruff and probably like some fancy girl school.
Yeah, probably. Sounds like it.
And I knew she was home because I'd had this letter from her a couple of weeks ago. I wasn't too crazy about her, but I'd known her for years. I used to think she was quite intelligent in my stupidity. The reason I did was because she knew quite a lot about the theater and plays and literature and all that stuff. If somebody knows quite a lot about those things, it takes you quite a while to find out whether they're really stupid or not. It took me years to find it out in old Sally's case. I think I'd have found it out a lot sooner if we hadn't necked so damn much. My big trouble is I always sort of think whoever I'm necking is a pretty intelligent person. It hasn't gotten a goddamn thing to do with it, but I keep thinking it anyway. So, yeah, everyone's stupid except for him.
And
blah,
full
blah,
of
blah.
hormones. Yeah.
So he checks out and decides to store his stuff at Grand Central. And while he's deciding this, we find out his dad is rich. In parentheses, of course he is.
Surprise.
Holden's been bouncing from one private school to another. Apparently he's a corporation lawyer and he invests in Broadway, and his mother is a mess. Especially after Allie died.
Yeah, well, fair.
And then the next bullet point is he loves, lots of O's, loves judging people. And then this was very important to me, I felt, because I quoted it. It isn't important, I know, but I hate it when somebody has cheap suitcases. It sounds terrible to say it, but I can even get to hate somebody just by looking at them if they have cheap suitcases with them. And then I said, okay, sorry.
What an asshole.
I said, okay, sorry I don't have my daddy buying me Louis Vuitton sets to put my dumb red hat in, Holden.
Oh, what a brat.
Yeah, like, cause he has expensive stuff, and he's just like, oh, cheap suitcases, poor you. And I'm like, you didn't even work for anything you have.
Maybe you should sell those suitcases and go to therapy.
His parents can pay for him to go to therapy. Anyway, he talks to these two nuns while he goes to like a diner to have breakfast, and they have the cheap suitcases that he was talking about. And they're teachers, and he goes off about Romeo and Juliet and how he doesn't like it or them, but of course he likes old mate Mercutio.
Of course he does.
Yeah, that's what I said. So he's walking around because there's time before he has to meet his date, Sally. They made a date. They're going to go to a show. He's thinking about those poor nuns never being able to eat somewhere swanky. And he's looking for a record shop to get this cool record for his sister Phoebe.
He's a phony. If he's like, ew, poor people's suitcases, he's phony.
I know. I think he's projecting. You
Maybe
know,
that's the thing he hates the most about himself.
Yeah, everything he hates about other people is what he hates about himself. So he sees a poor-looking family come out of mass, and the little boy singing, "If a body catch a body coming through the rye," which is the first semi-mention of the title. And he said it made him feel not as depressed anymore, which is kind of funny because he actually incorrectly heard it.
Oh, so it's a different song?
So it's a mishearing of Robert Burns's "Coming Through the Rye." So instead of "if a body catch a body coming through the rye," it's actually "if a body meet a body coming through the rye." So him and his sister Phoebe are talking, and she's just like, "You don't like anything." She's right. He's like, "Oh, I do." And she's like, "Tell me one thing. Tell me something you like." And he's like, "Oh." And then he goes on about how I guess I could. So this is how the book got its title. This is how it goes on to be The Catcher in the Rye. This is what he wants to do. So So he goes, you know that song, If a Body Catch a Body Coming Through the Rye? And then Phoebe goes, If a Body Meet a Body Coming Through the Rye, Phoebe said. It's a poem by Robert Burns. And he's like, I know it's a poem by Robert Burns. I'm doing that because there's a lot of italics.
Yeah.
She was right, though. It is If a Body Meet a Body Coming Through the Rye. I didn't know it then, though. And then he goes, I thought it was If a Body Catch a Body, I said. Anyway, I keep picturing all these little kids playing some game in this big field of rye and all. Thousands of little kids, and nobody's around. Nobody big. I mean, except me. And I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff. What I have to do, I have to catch everybody if they start to go over the cliff. I mean, if they're running and they don't look where they're going, I have to come out from somewhere and catch them. That's all I do all day. I just be the catcher in the rye. Woo!
There it is.
I just be the catcher in the rye and all. I know it's crazy, but that's the only thing I'd really like to be. I know it's crazy.
That's kind of sweet.
Yeah, see?
And I'm coming around on Holden.
He's a, how do you say, complex?
He wants to help kids.
He wants to preserve childhood innocence because that's what he's afraid of right now, like growing up and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he loves his sister Phoebe so much, because she's like still in that childhood innocence era. And then where am I?
One day he'll be a summer camp counselor and then he'll be happy.
I feel like he'll eventually kill himself.
One or the other.
Like, from the vibes of this book, like he says at the end he's feeling better, but I'm like, I'm just like he has like this, it's like a funeral dirge reading this book. I'm like, oh
yeah. It doesn't sound like he's got any real support, so
it just doesn't sound like it's like he's too tender for this world.
Oh yeah.
You know, some people are just too soft for this world. That's him. Even the money couldn't cushion the blow of reality.
Aww.
Poor buddy. So the next one says, oh my god. So he goes to buy the theater tickets to the Lunts for him and Sally, and he calls her the Queen of the Phonies.
Oh. Okay. Fuck this guy.
A roller
I'll come
coaster.
around the opposite way.
You're getting like emotional whiplash.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I should have gone in order.
I'm having a weird cyclical relationship with Holden. What's his name?
Holden Caulfield.
Caulfield. I was about to say that, but then I'm like, is that like a car?
Oh my god. I just remembered something so embarrassing, and I wish I could forget it, but I've just remembered it. So on my first few trips on the V line to the city in high school with my parents, the V line from Traralgon to the city passes by Caulfield Station, and I one day wish I would live in Caulfield just because it was the same last time as Holden Caulfield.
You're adorable.
And I'm like, and now I'm like, ugh, I don't want to live in fucking Caulfield. No offense to don't at me, Caulfieldians. Caulfies.
That's funny. I'm from Caulfield.
Speaking of the Queen of the Phony. My goodness.
Oh.
Also, he tried calling Jane again, but her mom picked up, so he hung up because, of course. And he got the record he wanted for Phoebe, so that's nice for him. And now he's just talking about how much he hates actors because he's afraid they'll do something phony, and because they never act like people. Like, they act like what they think people act like, but then it's not how people act.
Maybe he's projecting a little bit there.
I know, and I'm just like, oh my god, they're actors. This is whatever. So he goes for a walk in the park. I've written that capital T, capital P, because
So
I think it's
Central
just Central
Park?
Park.
Yeah, there's only one.
Because his sister Phoebe would be usually hanging out there on a Sunday. And he walked to the museum and thought about how his class used to go there practically every Saturday. And everything would be the same, except for you. And he got sad thinking about that. And he thinks some things should just stay the same as they are. And for the first time ever, I agree with Holden.
Aww.
And then I stopped writing. And then I was just like, oh, it's time to improv, I guess. Every oral presentation I do is always like 75% done. And then 25%, but I'm pumped. Bit of that zing. Bit of that.
Just thinking on your feet.
Okay, so they watched a play. And Holden said it wasn't too bad, which is like... It was probably an amazing play then. And he says, oh, It's probably like
Yeah.
a ward. It's probably
It's like
Miss Saigon, and there's like a fucking helicopter. And he's like, it's fine.
There's like those people who they're always like, if they don't like something, you know you're gonna probably like it.
Oh, So after the play, they go ice skating in Rockefeller Center, which is actually super cute.
That sounds nice.
I know, but then Holden ruins it, of course, by ranting against society. And Sally's like,
That
stop
doesn't sound like
yelling."
something he'd do.
Yeah, and then Sally's like, please stop yelling. And he's like, I'm not yelling.
Oh gosh.
So then he gets this image in his head that he wants to run away with Sally. He wants to like pack up everything and just move and like live in the woods. They live in a
Sally,
cabin.
run away. Sally.
I know.
Sally, get out of there.
To live in the wilderness of New England. And then she's like, no, we're like kids. And he's like, I'll get a job pumping gas. That's fine. She's like, no. So
You're actually really mean.
he is so mean.
I
Like,
don't
he's so
actually
mean.
like you that much.
Yeah, he's just like basically with her because she's described as like very pretty. Like,
It's like a status thing even for him.
and he's just so lonely. And he's like, well, and the one he really wants is Jane, but he's afraid to be rejected by her. So the stakes are so
Yeah.
much lower with old maid Sally.
Ugh.
So they get in that fight, and then he just fucking yeets out of there.
Good.
And they were like drinking hot chocolate or something over at the side, and he just like stomps away, and she's just there still in her skates and her little figure, and because he can rent the little figure skater dresses, and
Yeah.
she's just like, so he just leaves her there.
But you know what? I imagine some cute guy will come up to her and be like, "Hey, lady, why are you crying on the side of the rink?"
Oh, speaking of that, he got really annoyed because during the intermission of the play, you know how people go out for a smoke.
Yeah.
She found someone that she like knew, and he got really annoyed because they were just talking about like someone would say a place and someone would say a name of a person there. They'd be like, "Yeah, I know them too," and he's just like, "Oh my god."
All right, I've been there a little bit.
Yeah, they're
But
just,
also, that's your insecurity, Holden.
yeah,
There's
he's-
nothing wrong with them.
Yeah, but that would be annoying. But then again, he's
Yeah.
not being very.
He's not trying.
He's not trying. He's not trying.
He's not trying
Everyone
to
should
make
try
fun,
except
yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
So after that nonsense, he calls up an old classmate of his named Carl Luce? Luce? L-U-C-E?
Luce.
Luce?
Luchador.
So he... No. So I'm just gonna call him Carl because I hate this narrative. So Carl was like a cool guy over at, I think it was Wooten, W-H-O-O-T-O-N. Number 2.
W-H-O-O.
Yeah, Wooten. That's another school he was kicked out of, and Carl was kind of like a cool guy. He was always talking about like sex and stuff. He was like, yeah,
Love that
punnies."
pussy.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
he only wanted the attention on him. So like when he left, he expected everyone else to like disperse and no one else can talk about anything else. But if people stuck around and like, oh yeah, he was like, hey, go to bed. I'm not there anymore.
Holden did this?
No, Carl.
Carl did this. Okay.
So he really annoys Carl because he's just like trying to ask him about like his love life, his sex life. Basically, like in the room when Tommy Wiseau's like, anyway, how is your sex life? Mark, that's literally what happens.
Yeah.
And then Carl's just like, and Carl's like a bit older than him too, so he's going to Columbia now.
Okay.
So he's a fancy boy too.
So Holden's super insecure.
Yeah, as usual.
Yeah.
So he's just like, you like Columbia? And Carl's like, why would I go there if I didn't? And I'm just like, oh my god, you're both insufferable. Oh, and Carl orders a like a martini, but like very dry or something. He says, I'm like, sure. So the slang back then used for gay people was like flitty.
Flit. Oh. I
Yeah,
haven't
so
heard that
he
before.
suspected
No.
Carl of being a bit flitty. Sure.
Because he gets more pussy than you.
Yeah, but Carl is currently dating like this 30-year-old sculpturist from like Shanghai. So he's doing all right. And she lives in like Greenwich Village.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm just
Good
like,
for him.
Good for her.
Yeah, well.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So he suspects him of being gay. He has this, like, it could be he's also struggling with his own identity and sexuality.
Are you struggling with something, Twink? Where is it? He's struggling with his sexuality, perhaps?
Yeah, he could be gay. You know what I
Could
mean?
be. Yeah, anyone could be.
And he doesn't. In this room, at least one people is gay. And Carl's dad is actually like a psychoanalyst, and he like refers Holden. He's like, you should see like a psychiatrist to understand yourself. And Holden's like, whatever. And then Holden gets Soup's drunk and like flirts with like adults. It's so awkward. Oh yeah, and when
so embarrassing.
Yeah, he dances with these 3 tourist women. This was on his first night out. He dances with them because he loves dancing. Like I guess he's good at it. And he's like, oh, she was a dancer, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's nice. He loves dancing. He dances with these 3 older tourist ladies.
Yeah.
From where, Europe?
No, it wasn't like in the beginning. Hang on, let me see if I can. It doesn't matter. He loves dancing, whatever. Good for him.
You reckon he'd be a rave kid if this was set in the 90s?
No, Jesus. He'd be like a grunge kid.
Yeah, fair.
And then, yeah, like, it's pretty late, and he's drunk, and he calls Sally again. Ugh. And he's just like, I'll decorate the Christmas tree with you, Sally. I'll do it. And she's like, stop yelling.
Go away.
Yeah, and then she just hangs up, and he's just like, oh, well, I wonder what I did. So he goes to Central Park to finally check those ducks out. He's like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. But then on the way there, he's drunk. He accidentally breaks Phoebe's little record. And he's like, oh no! And he like puts the pieces in his pocket. He's like, oh, tape it together, it's fine. So he's just upset about that. He's like on his knees, just.
You know what I'm thinking?
What?
Holden Caulfield is just a little teenage boy in search of Reddit. Like, if he had Reddit, so many of his problems would be solved.
He'd be an incel.
Yeah, probably, but also he'd be able to like at least look up about the ducks. Vent his frustrations.
He could just ask people
ask for advice
that aren't like cab drivers. Other people might know. Or he could have like paid attention in school.
Yeah,
then he'd know.
Go to school.
If he had gone to classes,
maybe
there is a class dedicated to the ducks of Central Park. So anyway, he's super sad. And the only thing he wanted to do right now was see his sister Phoebe. And he was like, oh, but my parents can't know because they don't find out.
Oh, they don't know he's in New York.
They don't know he's been like kicked out until Wednesday. That's when he's meant to go home, and that's when they find out. So he's kind of been like home alone doing it in New York.
Yeah.
So he sneaks into his parents' apartment while they're out, and they're like a little party, and he had to like fool like the new elevator boy. It's a very fancy building. He's like, oh, I'm just the cousin of the people next door. I've got a limp.
And I don't know how to wear a hat.
Yeah. Oh, he's put that in his pocket for now.
Oh, he has. Oh, right. Because it's his hat, so they'll recognize him.
No, it's a new hat. Oh, he got it when he was fencing. The fencing was like, remember?
I remember fencing.
It's the last thing that happened before he like out of Tennessee. So he wakes up Phoebe, the only person with whom he seems to be able to communicate his true feelings. So she sleeps in DB's room while he's away because he's got like a huge bed. Yeah. And he's got this huge desk, and she's so small, and she like does her homework at the desk, and she does this thing where she comes up with a new middle name for herself, and right now it's Hazel, I think. Hang on.
So like she'll cycle through different middle names depending on her feelings.
It's really cute. Hang on.
Cute.
I'll read it out. Phoebe Weatherfield Caulfield.
Aww.
Right now.
Bless.
Ooh, why
she sounds like a detective. She sounds like a little girl detective. She's gonna solve like cookie jar mysteries or something.
Oh yeah, and the undescribed like sickness that he's, you know how he's like in an undefined institution or something, but there's hints alluding to that it could be either a psych ward or a hospital, because it depends on what you think. Because this happens
though after his parents realize he's been playing hooky in New York. Then he's sent to the psych ward
or hospital because.
Okay, but it is after that.
After what?
After all these shenanigans in New York.
Yeah, this is. Yeah. He's retelling this. It's like something that happened.
So he's currently in this place.
He said this is something that happened last Christmas, so some time has passed.
Okay, all right, I'm on board.
Yeah, so it's either a psych ward or hospital wing, whichever way you look at it, because there was a time where he was just sitting on a bench, and he said he was so cold he was afraid he was getting pneumonia or something. So he could have literally just gotten pneumonia because it's just cold.
But why didn't they send him all the way to California?
Because he said he was going to live with his brother afterwards.
Right.
Deebs. Okay. But it could, like, I think it's a psych ward. Because
it seems more likely that they'd send him so far away.
Because he said that there's one psychoanalyst here that, and it's like, why would they give him a psychoanalyst if he's just there for like pneumonia?
Yeah, but it makes sense for it to be ambiguous, especially if he doesn't want to face up to
Yeah,
it.
and it's and you get more of an idea that it is like a ward or something, because DB brings his girlfriend and she has to go to the toilet, which is in the other wing. And then you're like, oh, okay, those wings. Let me see what this dog-eared thing is.
But didn't hospitals used to be divided? Like male wards and female wards?
It could be. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Like, especially if it's 50s. But also, like, it's possible that it was a mental institution, like a psych ward, but they didn't call it that because there was such a stigma around it, you know. Especially if you're rich, you'd go to like a sanitarium or
sanitarium.
What do they call it? Like a spa. Honestly, they would call them like, they would sort of couch it in like, oh, he's gone for a relaxing vacay kind of language.
So this is book-eared just because he was talking about how he just wanted to die and how peaceful death would be. And
yeah, I reckon he's gone to a psych ward.
Pretty sad. Let's look at all the other bookmarks that I've done over the years. Oh yeah, this is page 73. And what is this? Who is he talking to? He's talking to some girl. And he's like, I apologize like a madman because the band was starting a fast one. This is one of the lady tourists that he danced with. There's 3 of them, 2 fat ugly ones, 1 kind of good looking one. And they've come from, I don't know, fucking somewhere to watch like a show, and he hated that because he hates everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, she started jitterbugging with me, but was very nice and easy, not corny. She was really good. All you had to do was touch her, and when she turned around, her pretty little butt twitched so nice and all. She knocked me out. I mean it. I was half in love with her by the time we sat down. That's the thing about girls. Every time they do something pretty, even if they're not much to look at, or even if they're sort of stupid, you fall half in love with them, and then you never know where the hell you are. Girls, Jesus Christ. They can drive you crazy. They really can.
He's so full of hormones.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Oh, this is a sad one too. Okay, so his sister Phoebe's very disappointed with him. She's like, you've been kicked out again, haven't you? Because no one knows yet.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's fine, don't worry about
She's
it.
perceptive.
She's very smart. And she's very, what's that word? For like little kids that know too much.
Precocious?
Precocious.
Know too much.
They see too much. And she keeps going, Daddy's gonna kill you. And he's like, no, he's not. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And she just kept going on about that. He's gonna kill you. So that's when she's like, you don't even like anything or anyone. He's like, I like Allie. I like you. She's like, Allie is dead. It doesn't count. And he's just like, whoa. Yeah. Something with that.
That was a right hook if I ever.
Because he didn't actually get to go to Allie's funeral because he was in the hospital because he punched out all the windows in the garage.
Yeah, so
the night that it happened. So he had to go to the hospital
for his hands.
So he didn't actually see it, but he heard about it and he's glad he didn't see it because it sounded phony.
He probably should have seen it.
Yeah.
Probably would have helped.
I know. His parents come home. And they're like, oh, fuck. So he hides like in the closet. And he's been smoking in the room. And Phoebe and the mom.
So they think Phoebe's smoking.
Yeah, they're just like, Phoebe, why does it smell like smoke? She's like, I swear, I just lit one, took one pop and threw it out. And they're like, oh, why would you do that? She's like, I couldn't sleep. And they're just like, don't do it again. And she's like, okay. Where am I?
Must be nice to be the favorite.
Yeah, and also like, it was the 50s. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
fine. Smoking's like, oh, wait till you're a little older. Well, before his parents came home, he'd actually rung up his old teacher, his former and much admired English teacher, Mr. Antolini. So it's from an old school, another one he went to.
Yeah.
But he
actually like made a connection with this guy.
Yeah, and he's kind of younger. He's like a younger teacher, like 30s kind of thing. And they've...
And Holden's good at English, you said.
Yeah. So they've kept in touch as well. Like he's kind of friends with Holden's parents too, and they go to the same country club. That's the thing we were looking for. Dirty Dancing.
There you go.
Yeah, so he's a rich guy.
But he's not phony.
Not according to Holden. But he's married to like this 60-year-old rich woman.
Oh, he's a toy boy.
Yeah, he
Bless
is.
his heart.
So when he goes to their apartment, it's a bit of a mess because they literally just had friends over. It's probably like 2 or 3 in the morning by now.
Mm-hmm.
And
His parents have. Oh, no, he goes to his teacher's apartment.
He sneaks out.
Oh.
He's like Mission Impossible's out of
Okay.
his own house.
Okay, yeah.
And,
Cute.
and I think he tells Phoebe he'll like see her tomorrow or something like
Yeah.
that. Because what is it? It's Sunday when this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Just a disclaimer. Our next door neighbor has asked for access to our side alley thing because he wants to do something on their roof. So if y'all hear some banging, that's the roof man doing his roof stuff. So he's with Mr. Antolini, who's drunk as fuck. He's a bit of a lush. He's always just like, Holden, my boy. He's got like a highball glass in one hand, and he's just like, oh. So he monologues to Holden that Holden's headed for a terrible fall.
Oh.
And, no, not Antolini, Holden. He's like, if you don't apply yourself, you're gonna...
Yeah. No, that's... Sorry, I just thought that was a really dark thing to say to a teenager.
He's drunk.
Yeah, true.
And also, it's the 50s, it's fine.
Yeah, true.
There are no
And I
dark
suppose if
things.
you're trying to get, like, scare him straight, in a way.
And also, and at this, I kind of feel bad for Holden at this point because all of a sudden he's got this huge headache. He just wants to cry because he's gone through like it's like 2 a.m. Let him let the boy sleep.
And let him have a nap. He needs a nap.
And then eventually he does fall asleep on like the couch, but then he wakes up. It's like, what's going on? And Mr. Antolini is like patting him on the head.
Uh-oh.
And he just like bolts upright and he like gets his stuff and he's like, my bags are in Central Station, I'm gonna go. And Antolini's like, you can get them in the morning. And he's like, no, it's fine, I'll get them now, I'll come back, it's fine, I'll come back. So he interprets it as a sexual advance.
You can't hear it, but my eyebrows are raised right up into my fringe so you can't see them.
So he like hightails it out of there.
But it might not have been.
Exactly. So
But also, I suppose, don't touch someone unless,
yeah.
they're awake.
Yep. No consent. Yeah, so it could be interpreted as he was like gay and gonna make a pass at him, or it could just be like a parental thing, like, sleep well, sweet boy,
But it obviously made Holden uncomfortable.
Yeah, because he's got all these like misconceptions about sexuality and like flittiness or whatever.
I suppose, but also like you can only really pick up on a vibe if you're there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, like.
So I'd like to think it was just like, pap, but it honestly could have been like, oh, I'm gonna touch his junk while he's asleep. I don't know. I don't know what perverts do. Whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, he hightails it out of there. He's like, oh, I gotta get my stuff, bye. And he ends up just like falling asleep at a waiting room at Grand Central Station. And then he gets even more depressed, of course. And then he starts regretting leaving Mr. Antolini's house. Because he's like, oh, he was probably just like, giving me like a parental pat or whatever. And he was like, oh, I should just stayed. I feel bad. But I was like, if you felt weird vibes, just get out of there.
That's really kind of an indictment of like male relationships in the mid 20th century, isn't it? Like you can't.
And it's kind of sad because it's like one of the last few people that he actually like trusts and respects and stuff, and now he's just like, oh god.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but the fact that even like a head pat is too intimate.
Yeah.
That's kind of messed up.
But it's also kind of weird, like a 30-year-old man patting a 17-year-old boy's head, I guess, while he's asleep.
Yeah.
Unless he was not meant to wake up. It was just like a pat, good night.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like he touched him like on the waist.
Yeah, but like why is it weird? That's the thing. Like, is it just because we have these preconceptions about
I'll find the actual
masculine
passage
affection?
and then we'll see.
And we have this idea that men can't be affectionate unless they want to be sexually intimate. This is heavy.
Oh, here we go.
This is another heavy one. We've had like 3 heavy ones. Oh no, we had, and then there were none. That was it.
Oh, here we go. Then something happened. I don't even like to talk about it in like italics.
Talk about.
I woke up.
Is he New Yorker?
Yes.
Does he talk like that?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Perhaps. Right. I woke up all of a sudden. I don't know what time it was or anything, but I woke up. I felt something on my head, some guy's hand. Boy, it really scared the hell out of me. What it was Mr. Antolini's hand. What he was doing was, he was sitting on the floor, right next to the couch, in the dark and all, and he was sort of petting me, or patting me on the goddamn head. Boy, I'll bet I jumped about 1,000 feet. And he goes, what the hell are you doing? I said, nothing. I'm simply sitting here, admiring. What are you doing anyway? I said over again. I didn't know what the hell to say. I mean, I was embarrassed as hell. How about keeping your voice down? I'm simply sitting. I have to go anyway. I said. Boy, was I nervous. I started putting on my damn pants in the dark. I could hardly get them on. I was so damn nervous. I know more damn perverts at school and all than anybody you ever met, and they're always being perverty when I'm around. You have to go where, Mr. Antolini said?
Alana and I both just made like a really kind of a face.
He was trying to act very goddamn casual and cool and all, but he wasn't any too goddamn cool. Take my word. I left my bags and all at the station. I think maybe I'd better go down and get them. I have all my stuff in them. They'll be there in the morning. Now go back to bed. I'm going to bed myself. What's the matter with you? Nothing's the matter. It's just that all my money and stuff's in one of my bags. I'll be right back. I'll get a cab and I'll be right back, I said. Boy, I was falling all over myself in the dark.
So yeah, it sounds like he actually did have like a fright. Like when
Scared
you
him.
know, you wake up and someone's touching, like.
And he wasn't just like standing up and petting him, and he was like sitting there. But also, Mr. Antolini was soups drunk at that point. He was just like, yeah, sure.
And a lot of boys and men can't be affectionate unless they are drunk. As well, even today.
So
it's hairy. It's complicated. Maybe I shouldn't say hairy. Maybe that's the wrong word. It's
Harry's fine, I think.
something out there.
Oh, and I forgot to mention at this point, he had like, I want to say like $200 or something when he began this. I think because he had some money, but now
that's a lot back then.
He had, because he was just buying drinks left, right, center, cabs all the way.
You could buy a third of a farm. Sorry, I made you sad.
Yeah.
Oh, Lenny.
Oh, George.
Yeah.
So he actually borrowed money from his sister Phoebe, and it was like all over Christmas money, and it was like $8.
Phoebe.
And he was just like, that's why he slept at Grand Central Station, because he didn't want to waste her money. So while he was just like ambling around Fifth Avenue, he was just getting so depressed again. So he, hang on, I want to see if this comes after the depression. Yeah, so he actually has a mental breakdown, I think, at this point, because I bookmarked this page. This is what it says. I will just read it.
Sure.
Because I'm lazy. Anyway, I kept walking and walking up Fifth Avenue without any tie on or anything. Then his tie off. He took his tie off. All of a sudden, something very spooky started happening. Every time I came to the end of a block and stepped off the goddamn curb, I had this feeling that I'd never get to the other side of the street. I thought I'd just go down, 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 and nobody would ever see me again. Boy, did it scare me, you can't imagine. I started sweating like a bastard, my whole shirt and underwear and everything. Then I started doing something else. Every time I'd get to the end of a block, I'd make believe I was talking to my brother, Allie. I'd say to him, Allie, don't let me disappear. Allie, don't let me disappear. Allie, don't let me disappear, please, Allie. And then when I'd reach the other side of the street without disappearing, I'd thank him. Then it would start all over again as soon as I got to the next corner. But I kept going and all. I was sort of afraid to stop. I think. I don't remember, to tell you the truth. So he was really,
that's, yeah.
he's straight up going through it. So he decides then and there that he was like, all right, I'm just going to move to the wilderness again. He will head out west and he'll like live a reclusive lifestyle. He said he'd pretend he'd like hitchhike all the way out west, and then he'd work at like a gas station, and he'd pretend to be like a deaf mute so that no one would ever talk to him. And he'd just like, if anyone wants to talk to me, they can write it on a piece of paper, and then I'll write it on a piece of paper, so we don't have to have these phony conversations. You just say to me what you need, what you mean. And then he said he'll build a cabin out there. Then one day he'll meet a nice girl who's also deaf and mute. And they'll also like talk via paper. And
What if one day she discovered he wasn't Timothy? She'd be so betrayed.
Wait, she's deaf. So how would she know?
I don't know. She'd figure it out. Feel the vibrations.
And he'll be like, what? And they'd have kids, and they teach the kids how to read. And, you know, he has this
but not how to speak.
Not how to speak. It's literally Captain Fantastic.
This is the second time he said he wanted to work at a gas station.
I think he really wants to work at a gas station.
You don't have to go off the map to work at a gas station. He could just find a gas station and
That's
start working
literally his rich people mind thinking, what do people do when they need cash? Oh, gas boys. Petrol boys, you know, those guys. So he decides to go to Phoebe's school, which was his old school, at around lunchtime, to give her a note to meet him at the museum.
Wait, quick backtrack.
Yes.
what's your I'm gonna go live off the grid and never talk to anyone again job that you have in mind?
I don't want to do that.
But if you did,
well, I'd burn off my fingerprints.
yeah.
I changed my hair.
Mm-hmm.
I changed glasses.
Yeah.
I probably like
I feel like
a
working on a
waitress.
fishing boat. Oh
Yeah.
no, you gotta go way off the map.
Way off the map.
I suppose they have like restaurants in
Yeah, because I can
Alice
waitress.
Springs. I don't know.
Yeah, sounds like my nightmare.
Yeah.
But when you do think off the map, you're like, petrol station, perfect. That literally is it. You're like,
You don't even need a town attached.
yeah, they're just there. And you can get like,
You live in the pumps.
yeah, then Javier Bardem will come in and be like, flip for your fate. And you'll be like, what? And I'll be like, hails. Heads and tails.
Hails.
And he'll be like,
Ted's.
he'll be like, you got me. And then I don't get murdered by him.
And then he'll like tip his hat because he'll respect you.
He doesn't have, he'll like,
His
he'll
little
like
bob.
do this as bob hair. He'll be like, he's like, got it. Ted's, that's just your dad. You always bring your dad into things, don't you?
My father will hear about this.
My father is a veterinarian. Anyway, so he leaves a note. He gives the note to like a, I don't know, some bitch at reception or something, some lady, and it was like, give this to Phoebe, and it was.
And she's
to-
like, help.
Huh?
Oh no, the reception of his parents' building.
No, school.
Oh, school, sure.
He went to Phoebe's school, and be
Yes,
like, give
sorry,
this to
yeah.
Phoebe Caulfield in class 4B, and they're like,
Sorry, I got distracted by gas station.
yeah, it's all right.
I did.
And they were like, who are you? And he's like, her brother, and they're like, all right. So it just said to meet him at the Met,
Uh-huh.
you know, at the museum, where he was thinking, oh, some things just shouldn't change. And he gets really distressed because someone had graffitied the word fuck onto like the stair, like the wall, and he's just like trying to erase it, like, kids shouldn't know what this means.
Oh my god.
Again with the preserving children's
Yeah,
innocence
but
thing.
also like chill out a little
And
bit.
he's just like, who's done this? Like he's just trying to like get all of them.
What's he just using his hands?
Some of them were just written in like pen or something, so he could rub it out. But some of them,
Oh, like so he could like smudge it.
and some of them were like scratched in, and he was just like, no. And he was having a breakdown about that.
Yeah.
And then he goes to the museum to wait for Phoebe, and he was just gonna kill some time. He was just. And then Phoebe shows up, and she's got a huge suitcase with her, and he's like, what the fuck?
Is it expensive or cheap?
Of course it's expensive.
Good.
It's his sister. Nothing less.
Yeah.
And
well,
then she's like,
he wouldn't want her to embarrass him.
yeah. She's like, I'll come with you. And he's like, what the fuck?
Aw.
No. And she's like, Holden, please. I won't even take my stuff if you don't want. I'll come with you. And he's like, no. And then, because she was actually cast in a Christmas play that was happening on Friday.
Aw.
And she was really excited because she was Benedict Arnold.
What?
And yeah.
Who? I'm sorry, I didn't know there was a Benedict Arnold present at the birth of Jesus.
No, I think it's a Christmas Story one.
What?
I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, she was going to be Benedict Arnold. And she was
Good
very
for
excited.
her. Good for her.
And he was like, if you come with me, you can't go. You can't be Benedict Arnold. And she's like, but if you go, you won't see me being Benedict Arnold.
Aw.
And he's just like,
That's so cute.
it is
and
really
sad,
cute.
yeah.
And he's like, you can't come with me. You're a kid. And she's like, please, I'll get a job. Blah blah blah.
You're a kid, Holden.
I know.
Calm down.
So she just starts crying. And so he's like, oh, good. So he tries to cheer her up by, like, letting her skip school the rest of the day. It's like 3 hours. And then they go to Central Park.
Okay.
And she does this really funny thing. She's angry at him, so he's walking on one side of the street. So she crosses to the other side, so she's still walking with him, but, like, away from him. But she still keeps looking over to see, like, he's still there, but she's, like, ignoring him. And, like,
Aww.
it's really cute. And then... eventually they reach the carousel. And then Holden's like, do you want to ride the carousel? And she's like, yes. She
Of
loves the
course.
carousel. Like, ever since she
How
was a
could you
kid,
not?
like, she loved it. And it was really funny because when they were watching it, he tried to come up behind her and just put his hands on her shoulders, and she'd, like, slip down from underneath and, like, slide out. She's
Go
mad.
away.
She's mad.
Aww.
And-
But, like, is he paying for the carousel with, like, her money?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice of you, big bro.
Thanks,
Buy me
big
a
bro.
Buy me a ticket to the carousel.
With my own money.
God damn.
But then finally he feels happy
Oh, that's
at
good.
the sight of Phoebe on the carousel and all the other kids on the carousel reaching for the gold ring in the middle, and he's like worried they'll fall, but he said it's okay, they'll know. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
oh,
Like
it's okay.
letting go a little bit, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also he's like maniacally happy almost. He's like manic. He's he
Yeah.
because I think he does have like bipolar
Yeah,
or
that
something. He
makes
like
sense.
literally like from like depression to like I want to die, I want to kill myself, I want to disappear, and then suddenly he's so happy he can't like bear it. And then the last chapter it literally begins with him just going, "That's all I'm gonna tell you about." And then he goes, "I could probably tell you what I did when I went home, and what school I'm supposed to go to next fall after I get out of here."
Yeah.
Anyway, so he alludes to like just going back home that night, and he got sick, but he's not gonna tell us anymore. And then he does
So
this.
it's possible he had like further mental breakdown, and then
I
got
think so.
sent away by his family,
Yeah,
or he might have just gotten
like genuinely like
sent away just because he was skipping school. They
either.
would do stuff like
But
that.
there is a psychoanalyst that he mentions that
Yeah.
he's asking him if he's going to apply himself when he goes to school next September. And yeah, because he's talking to the audience. It's kind of like
Yeah, he's like the narrator.
yeah. So the end is, if you want to know the truth, I don't know what I think about it. Like all these things that have happened to him, because I think this is like the lead up to like his. I think there was more of a breakdown after this.
Yeah.
Like he's probably gone home and they're like, "What happened?" And he's like, "I don't know." And then they're just
Yeah.
like, "Go to California."
Yeah.
If they send him to California and he's gonna go to school there, I reckon he'd probably just another fancy boys' school.
Yeah.
But
It's the kind of thing that a family like that would just throw money at, I think.
yeah,
Although with like they sound like Kennedy kind of assholes. He's probably lucky to get away without getting a lobotomy or something.
oh my god, like Rosemary. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Ooh, haunted.
They would just do that especially with bipolar.
And he goes, "I'm sorry I told so many people about it. About all I know is I sort of miss everybody I told you about. Even old Stradlater and Ackley, for instance. I think I even miss that goddamn Maurice." It's funny. Don't ever tell anybody anything. If you do, you start missing everybody. So he's very nostalgic and sad. It's never gonna be a movie.
It's never gonna be a movie?
Salinger never sold the rights up, but
but eventually it'll go into public
he
domain.
said he'll only be, because he's dead. He said he only wants to turn into a movie when he's dead, so that
He never has to watch it.
he never has to watch it, and that's like insurance for his like family. So if they need money, they can just sell the rights to the book.
That's good.
But he's just like, I don't want to fucking see it, because like so many people have tried,
Yeah, I want to. Yeah,
so
try to
many.
buy it.
yeah, and
That
he's
makes
just
sense.
like, no, and
Is it autobiographical at all?
J.D. Salinger bases some of the characters on some people that he knows, like Sally, and
It just sounds really personal.
it does. I reckon he might have gone through these
Or
sorts
something
of-
similar.
Yeah, he relates, but Holden Caulfield is actually described by the prostitute Sunny as the movie where a boy falls off a boat and someone's like, the movie is Captain Courageous from 1937, and Sunny says that Holden looks like the boy who fell off the boat, and it's Freddie Bartholomew, this child actor,
Oh.
and this is what apparently
Oh my god, yeah, show me.
this
We'll
is.
put it up online.
There you go.
Oh, he's so cute. Aw.
But when I think Holden, I just think of what J.D. Salinger looks like. Which
Yeah.
is, have you seen what J.D. Salinger looks like?
No.
So this is what I think Holden Caulfield kind of looks like. But
Oh. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of sad eyes.
because it does really read
Yeah.
as like an autobiography.
It
doesn't
does,
it?
yeah.
But it's
Did he write much other stuff?
Oh, he wrote some short stories, and he wrote this other one, Franny and Zooey, which I really actually enjoy. I don't know, some other shit probably. Time magazine, blah blah blah. publicity death. How did he die? Natural causes in 2010. He was 91.
Oh, good for him.
Oh. He broke his hip in 2009. His health had been excellent until a rather sudden decline after the new year.
Oh, you probably, one of your organs was just like, I'm out. You're too old.
91, yeah. But,
It's not a bad run.
yeah, Franny and Zooey are actually two short stories. Well, not short stories, two separate stories. In
Sure. Okay.
one book, and I have that too. So I've read that. I feel like I've read 9 stories, but I don't remember. Because I don't remember much. But, yeah, so that was Catcher in the Rye. That was what happened. It took place in like 2 or 3 days. And most of it was Holden going. Phony. People.
I remember, so on the copy of the book that my ex-boyfriend gave me, he wrote "and all" on the cover of the book.
Et al.
And all, which is apparently something Holden says like all the time.
Yeah.
And I did actually kind of see that when you were like reading them. It was like,
yeah,
and this and all, and this and all.
He says a lot of his. I've got like a pun, but it's on the tip of my tongue. I was gonna do like catchy phrases and Catcher in the Rye mix up, but I'm just tired. I can't do it. Yeah, this is one of the books that was like censored all the time or like banned or whatever.
Because of suicide?
No, because he's pretty crass, and I guess the topics are pretty dark. But
sure,
I'm just
yeah, just language.
He says the phrase "that killed me" a lot. Like, when you find something funny, it's like, it killed me.
It might just be slang.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he says it a lot. Got a bang out of that. Shoot the bull. Give her the time for sexual intercourse. Ew.
What?
And he calls people that you're a prince of a guy, aren't you, Ackley? Like prince, but like
sarcastically.
Yeah, because it means like fine fellow.
Yeah.
And he keeps calling his brother DP a prostitute. Because he's, now he's out in Hollywood, being a prostitute, and I'm just like, calm down.
Selling out, man.
But yeah, the event mostly associated with it is the John Lennon shooting.
Yeah.
I know. I didn't even know that until I started doing research for the book, and I'm just like,
Makes you think about how many hands it's found its way into of just sad boys.
My Chemical Romance.
Made them sadder.
Or maybe they made it feel like maybe I'm not going crazy. Someone else is thinking these
exactly,
things.
and like giving meaning to it. It seems like that's kind of partly why.
Because I don't think this book is for me now, because I read it and I don't relate. I'm just like, calm the fuck down. I'm just like, your parents have money, you'll be fine.
But when you were a teenager, did you feel like, this is mine, this is for me?
Honestly, I feel like I just liked it more because I was like, I like it because Gerard Way likes it. But I never really fully got it until like now, because I read it at a very young age, like 6th grade.
That's really young.
And to be honest, it's more of like a boy book.
It does seem to be about masculinity.
Yeah, a very boy book. So I didn't really relate as much because I'm a girl. And yeah, but I don't think I've actually met anyone who's read this. Maybe I just don't ask.
It's really interesting to like this book that's so iconically teenage came out in the 50s, which is kind of the moment in history when teenagehood was kind of invented, or at least recognized by advertisers in particular. But yeah, after sort of the Second World War happened, and then you had these kids who were kind of like finishing school and not going straight into, the army, or there were kids with like free time and roaming around in packs and wearing leather jackets and stuff.
One of the Wikipedia sections is banned fan fiction.
Did he? Did he pull in Anne Rice?
Oh my god.
Anne Rice, the writer of Interview with the Vampire, who disavows all fan fiction written about her sexy vampires.
Anyway, banned fanfiction. In 2009, the year before he died, Salinger successfully sued to stop the U.S. publication of a novel that presents Holden Caulfield as an old man.
That kind of makes sense, though, like if someone's making money off it or
The
profiting
novel's
off it.
author, Frederick Colting, commented, "Call me an ignorant Swede, but the last thing I thought possible in the U.S. was that you banned books."
You're an ignorant Swede.
The issue is complicated by the nature of Colting's book 60 years later, Coming Through the Rye, which has been compared to fan fiction. Although commonly not authorized by writers, no legal action is usually taken against fan fiction, since it is rarely published commercially.
Yeah, well, that's it.
50 Shades of Grey, and thus involves no profit.
Yeah, well, I guess she changed it enough that Stephanie Meyer didn't really have a leg.
vampire who's a CEO and he wants to feed the hungry children.
But did she originally write it as like an AU, an alternate universe kind of thing, where they're like, what if they were human and into bondage?
Yes.
And then, so the characters
But
are
it's still the
basically the same.
characters. Yeah.
But then if you just change the names and change a little bit about them, then it's different enough that you can kind of get away with it.
And then people fucking love it.
Yeah.
I like Twilight more.
Yeah, it's better written. You know, say what you will about Stephanie Meyer, like she can write, like it's pretty good. It's not that bad.
Bitch, try reading Twilight now and say that to me. All right.
Well, okay,
Try
fair, but maybe.
Dude, that
Maybe
was...
I will.
Okay.
Well,
Sandy Widow.
it's like plain though, right? It's like not especially lovely, but it's not like the hot mess that 50 Shades of Grey is. Because I did read that, and it was hard to actually.
Yeah, because she
pass.
kept going, my inner goddess, dancing the salsa. And she loves saying, holy cow.
What do you think Holden Caulfield's inner goddess is saying?
Phony. Or just like jerking off sadly in a corner like... It's the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Wow. I've gone through so much.
It's been a wild ride.
It has been a wild ride. We've gone through so many things. A pandemic.
A ghosting.
A ghosting. Ghosts.
So we were thinking that we'll take a short break of maybe a week or two, maybe 2 weeks.
Maybe 3, maybe 4.
Maybe you'll never see us again.
Here.
And then we'll come back at you with season 2 of Illiterature.
That's
That's
where
how
the
it
theme song comes in. I prefer when you do this.